here we go. Time to cap off the Battlebots 2015 season reviews. We've had a great old time, but this is going to be the last video before we finally move on. It's been a fun time, but man, there's still so many great things to review. But I want to just take a look once more at Battlebots 2015 as we do the top 10 Battlebots of the season. This should be an interesting one, because much like the fights one, in some ways it's easy because there's some very obvious choices. But then, again, you start to fill it up, and because it's such a small pool, it's like, can I fill it with 10 robots? I think the picks that I made are pretty decent ones though, and again, these aren't in any particular order. Like, I'd still probably rate number 1 over number 10, but maybe don't equate number 1 and number 2 as one being definitively better than 2. It's more just that they're both extremely good. I can't tear my mouth in two and have both sides of my mouth talking about a different robot at once. Now with that weird imagery out of the way, let's get into this with number 10, Ghost Raptor. Ghost Raptor, in my opinion, was definitely a little bit middling at times. The bar broke a little too easy in my opinion, though it was very quick and powerful as well. The lifting arm, at some times it worked amazingly and other times not as much, but the unique combination of it all, along with some great driving and some great adaptability with stuff like the de-icer, still made them an entertaining watch regardless. And it meant that there was some fun fights that it was involved with. So I don't mind giving them the number 10 spot. In number 9 is Nightmare. Now Nightmare had a great time, honestly. Like, okay, the first fight, it lost, right? But it still made an impact and was definitely deserving of a wildcard in my opinion. Like, I think it really deserved it, but unfortunately it just wasn't the case. Still, it managed to redeem itself in a great rumble, defeating Overhaul and Witch Doctor. Nightmare still had some good shots in this season. The design was definitely getting old, but that was one last little hurrah. In number 8 is Witch Doctor. Now, I'm putting Witch Doctor a little bit lower than I would have put, because it was definitely still a little rough around the edges, but it still had its own impact in the season. You know, that amazing fight with Tombstone was brilliantly done. So even though it was a little rough around the edges, there's still signs of the amazing robot it would go on to become. So Witch Doctor was definitely, it had to make the top 10 easily. It's definitely a very nice robot. In number 7, it's Lockjaw. Lockjaw had an interesting run, given that it won and lost to the same robot. Now, despite the fact that it only had 2 fights, both of them were quite entertaining ones in my opinion. A great back and forth with Overhaul. It was just a fun time. And the robot is so needlessly complicated in my opinion that added extra bonus points in my opinion. I really love the visual aesthetic of OG Lockjaw. Like, this Lockjaw, don't get me wrong, newer Lockjaw is more competitive and it's had some brilliant fights. But OG Lockjaw is just so visually, I love the look of it. And that awards bonus points for this, in my opinion. In number 6 is Ice Wave. And Ice Wave, its run was nice. It did some notable damage to the likes of Razorback. Like, it was a simple design, but man, you can see why they stuck with it for so long. Ice Wave did some nasty damage in this. You know, it wasn't a patch on Tombstone, of course, which we'll get into. But it was definitely, I'd say, second place when it came to big damaging spinners. In number 5, it's Overhaul. And Overhaul, honestly, did better than I expected. Like, Overhaul's always been a little bit middling at times, and I thought that this proto-Overhaul was going to be, like, really rough, but they absolutely smashed my expectations. Like, there was definitely still some teething pains for sure, but they did a good job bringing the fight to several of the teams. Like, some of their encounters were quite fun. I think the design being as ugly as it is, and some quite obvious driving mistakes does dock it some points, but it feels a bit nitpicky, honestly. It's still a very fine robot, and definitely deserving as one of my top 5 favourite robots of the season. In number 4, it's Bite Force! And Bite Force, while it may not have been the flashiest robot of all time, sometimes I can just admire a robot that works, just is so good at what it does. You know, the likes of Original Sin. You're not watching Original Sin fights expecting Original Sin to, like, absolutely go insane. You watch Original Sin fights because it's a robot that just does what it does so damn well, and Bioforce is that for Battlebots. Like, it's so good at what it does. The fights with the grabber and lifter are a lot more entertaining, in my opinion, but even when it's just using the clamp, it's so scarily efficient that it still makes itself incredibly entertaining to me. I had a lot of fun watching it go and seeing it overwhelm its opponents. But now we're into the top 3, and third place goes to Stinger! Stinger. Like, we didn't get to see a crazy lot from Stinger, not as much as I would have liked personally, but still, the fights we did see were still fun. You know, Stinger overwhelmed Shredderator and Warhead. In fact, it eliminated Shredderator so dang quickly. And the fight with Bronco, while it ended up losing, that little driving contest between the two of them was so much fun to watch. I wish we got to see more of the lifting action of Stinger, but still, an absolutely fun robot to watch. And if you told me that Stinger was going to come back even in the 2023 season, I would watch that guaranteed. In number 2, it's gotta be Bronco. Because Bronco is such an amazing, just highlight reel of a robot. That flipper, when it gets to the right position, can send robots flying. And even when it was getting ultra defensive against Tombstone, some of the flips were still pretty dang good. It made quick work of Witch Doctor, it sent Plan X up and over with so much ease. Bronco is just a fun robot to watch. Like, again, Bronco is much like Stinger, a robot where, even in the 2023 season, if you tell me Bronco's going to be competing, I'm gonna watch. Because, yeah, Bronco may not be as competitive nowadays, but if Bronco gets a flip in, that is a fun fight to watch. So, yeah, Bronco is a great robot, and definitely one of my favourites. But my number 1, and I think a lot of you probably called it from the beginning, it's Tombstone! Because Tombstone really showed what the modern spinner was going to be capable of right from the very word go. It already had so much experience from, like, the team dabbling with these kinds of spinners, and that coupled with the fact that a lot of the teams didn't quite yet have the armor to handle that kind of energy, it led to some incredible fights where Tombstone would just destroy its opponents in its wake, making Ray out to be this almighty villain, and even in the final fight, it still did some notable, significant damage to Bite Force. Tombstone obviously would slowly begin to lose some traction as the seasons went on, and more teams went on to adapt themselves to Tombstone's strategy, but that's the thing. Tombstone's approach is so influential that that's a part of the reason I have to imagine why a lot of robots are designed the way they are now. Because if you're not designed for Tombstone with Tombstone in mind, you're going to get torn to shreds by that almighty bar spinner. It's a legend for a reason, and it's my favourite robot of World Championship 1. And that is my top 10 favourite robots of Battlebots 2015, aka World Championship 1. Honestly, the top 5 in particular has got some of my favourite robots, like just incredible Battlebots machines, and like some that I thought absolutely outdid themselves in this season. And the fact that it's more than likely going to get better, even from Season 2, like, I know it's going to get better overall, but seeing some of these robots, I'm interested to see the fights they're going to have next season, in Season 2. I need to find the episodes of Season 2 first, so don't expect World Championship 2 reviews for a little bit. If anyone can point me in the right direction, though, that'd be appreciated. But I'm still excited nonetheless. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like on this video, as it helps the channel out a lot. If you also enjoyed, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified of future videos on the channel. Always trying different content out, and there's more Battlebots reviews to come. Even if I can't do World Championship 2 right now, There's going to be more stuff along the pipeline. Highly recommend you check some of the stuff out. And I hope you enjoy what's to come. If you can share the video around with your friends, that would be super appreciated as well, as it gets more eyes on the channel. And we have memberships, which for a small fee you get access to custom emotes as well as bonus videos. We've got some bonus reviews out right now, including looks at some of the unaired or highlight fights from the 2015 season. So there's some great fights in there, and some very interesting ones, so that I hope you check out. Anyway, I hope to see you all next time. Bye guys!